every year prior to COVID-19, American Airlines hosts an honor flight, which they host many honor flights, but there's a special honor flight that they do from Wisconsin, from the EAA Oshkosh Air Show. Then they typically fly 120 Vietnam veterans from the state of Wisconsin to Washington, D.C. And American Airlines usually invites me to meet them in Washington, D.C. at DCA. And so, but here's the thing, I'm sworn to secrecy. I'm sworn to secrecy of not being able to tell them my story. And so what I do is I meet them and I get to know them and I go around with them and we go to the wall together. We get on buses at DCA, we go to the wall. They get to see the wall. They get to see, many of them have never been to the wall. They've never seen the names of those that they've served with who never came home. Then we go to the Smithsonian and see the Vietnam War display. And then we go to Arlington National Cemetery to see the changing of the guard at the tomb of the unknown soldier. And then when all the veterans think that I have to go, because I've met quite a few of them over the course of 6 hours and they're all really sad that I have to go, I usually say, well, maybe I can convince the airport to let me through security. Oh, can you do that? Oh, yeah, let me see. So what do you know? They let me through security. So then we go and we're hanging out the gate and then they get all sad again because they're starting to board the plane back to Oshkosh, and they start giving me a hug goodbye. And I said, well, maybe once you all get on, if there's a spare seat, maybe I can talk American Airlines into giving me a seat so I can fly with you. Oh, do you think that would happen? That'd be great. And so what do you know? There's always a seat for me on the flight back to Oshkosh. And so while we're in the flight, and I don't know if you've ever been on an honor flight, and if you ever get the chance to go on an honor flight, I encourage you to do so because it is one of the most amazing experiences that you'll ever have. While we're in the air, they get food, but they get an envelope. An envelope that the organization that coordinated it, which is Old Glory Honor Flight for this particular flight, they coordinate with their family and neighbors to write letters to the veterans and tell them, and the letters tells them how proud of them they are, and the letters that they never got when they came home from their neighbors. And right about 20 minutes before we land, the pilot calls me to the front of the plane, and I get to start speaking to them. And I tell them my story, and I tell them how important their service is to me and what I'm able to do because of them. And the first time, I've done this flight 5 times, and the first time I did the flight, I started shaking all of their hands after I was done. And I tell you, it takes a while to shake all 120 Vietnam veterans on a flight, shake their hand. But one veteran grabbed hold of my hand and pulled me. He was sitting in the middle seat, and he pulled me in. And he was just looking down. And as I said to all of them, I would say, thank you for your service, sir. Welcome home. And he finally looked up, and he had tears in his eyes, and tears were streaming down his cheek. And he said, he said, I never thought this day could get any better. He said, for the first time, I was able to go to Washington, D.C. For the first time, I got to see the wall. I got to see the names of my brothers that never came home. And he said, I got to go to the Smithsonian. I saw an amazing display, and I got to go to Arlington National Cemetery to the tomb of the unknown soldier. And he said, and everywhere we went, we had people hugging us and thanking us and cheering for us, something that never happened. He said, I thought this day couldn't get any better. He said, but you just got up there and told us your story. He said, I can finally go home. He said, I can finally go home to my wife and my daughter and tell them that I did something good. We should never let our service members feel that they didn't do something good. We need to, as leaders in our community, as leaders in our organizations, as Service Academy grads, we need to take the helm, and we need to ensure that all veterans coming home, past and present, their service is always respected and is always appreciated. So I know I'm ending a little early, but For all of our Vietnam veterans and Vietnam era veterans that are on the call today, thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service, valor, and sacrifice. I know that you served during a time where service was unpopular, but you did so with honor, courage, and valor, and we thank you. For all of everybody else, thank you for your service as well. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for everything that you do for our men and women, and just never let Americans forget what service truly is.